For folks who are new, women in AI ethics started with a list. And it shows the power of how a small gesture can have a huge impact. On October 29, 2018, I published the first Women in AI Ethics list. It was 100 brilliant women in AI ethics you should be following. And there were so many incredible names on this list. And the reason I did this was when we go through trauma in our lives and challenging times, we cope in many different ways. For me, a coping mechanism is to do a lot of reading, and I built lists, lists of books, lists of women. And this is one of those lists I built because I needed something to inspire me during a very dark time in my life. And in a way, this list saved me because it gave me hope. It gave me joy, and it showed that a better world is possible, that we are able to dream and hope for a much more brighter future, because there are so many incredible women who are making sure that we do have that amazing future that we all deserve and that we all want. So after that list, the response to the list was overwhelming, because when you do these things with best of intentions, you often wonder how it's going to be received. And I was stunned when folks I admire, folks I respect so much in the industry, came out with their support for this list. Joy Bulvini, Jen Bryson, Carla Husted, Ala, Margot, folks who have been doing so much of this hard work in a space which is dominated by just hype and scams and hoax. Having these women recognized who are doing such a great job of keeping us informed and doing the hard work of calling out the truth, it's just been truly validating. And then the co-founder of DeepMind also noticed it and gave us a shout out. And this was back in 2018. Since then, we have published this list every year. And it is meant to recognize the voices that are often unheard, who are underrepresented and often dismissed. And I do believe that if your list of any work that you're doing only highlights 10 people from the same tech companies and the same institutions, it's not really a list, it's an echo chamber. So every year we recognize 100 brand new voices, and we are never disappointed because this is such an amazing growing space. And it is not dominated by tech, it's not dominated by institutions or academics. It's a beautiful mix. It's a blend of artists and journalists and folks who are researchers, social scientists, data scientists, because together it is going to take all of us to build a more ethical and responsible AI future. And my work was recently validated again when someone whom I respect and admire, and a lot of folks have heard her bravery and courage for speaking up, along with Dr. Timnit Gebru, against some of the issues, ethical issues at Google, for which both of them were fired. And to get a note from her, it's so supremely validating. It shows us that we are on the right track, that our work matters, that our work is valued. So to increase representation is our key goal, and we cannot do it without having resources to help support these women, which is why we launched an online directory. Now, this online directory is meant to help recruiters, conference organizers, VCs, and anyone who's looking to collaborate, fund, hire diverse talent in this space. No more will we accept white-only panels, no more will we accept just male-only panels, because we know there are talented, amazing women out there, and there is no excuse. So I built this directly partly because I was tired of folks saying we couldn't find any women to be on a panel or an event, and we can't hire because it's a pipeline issue. I do believe that it is not a pipeline issue. It's a choice that companies are making, and we want them to choose, right? We want them to choose diversity. So moving on. Again, this speaks to the power of the community, that when folks were struggling last year during the pandemic, so many of our community members, they lost opportunity, they lost jobs, especially those who had to come from other countries, the visas were revoked. It was a very challenging time, and this is when the community came together, these amazing women, Renee Cummings, Kate Butterfield, we have Hessie Jones, Karen Silverman, so many amazing women from across the globe came together and said, we will help each other. And they mentored women and other women who were struggling or looking for guidance in their careers or personal lives, and they made the time. And for that, I'm so grateful, because we still get asked to reinstate this program. But right now it's on hold. I know everybody's been asking, but it's on hold because we are still looking for funding. And as soon as we secure that, we will reinstate that, because we do believe this is very important work. So where do we go from here? So we have continued to build more educational and empowering events. And we invite speakers, again, not the same 10 that you've heard of, but we go out of our way, we research and find women who are making a real impact. And we are always blown away by the work that's happening in this space. And in all our events, we found that we learned so much from their perspectives and just the multidisciplinary approach that they bring to AI. It's so valuable. And we found that over the years, we track our diversity metrics very carefully. And over 3/4 of our speakers are women of color. And for a reason, because we do believe we can't be truly inclusive and diverse unless we give platforms to those who are historically being underrepresented in the space. It is my hope that someday we will all come together again in person. But until then, I just send you my best positive vibes through this virtual event, and in the hopes that will be a brighter future if we just work together and support each other. So before we start our event, which we are all very excited about, I would like to start by why we are hosting this event today and what are the challenges ahead of us. So as we all know, across the board, no matter which industry you're in, we are outnumbered by white men. There are more men named John than women in most American industries at a C-level position. And it's not a coincidence, right? It is, a lot of it is by design. Abiba Birane pointed out recently how she's trying to watch the talk on AGI, and all she found is this collection of white men. And they could have easily added more seats, but apparently they just kept adding more white men to the conversation and completely ignoring the fact that there are so many amazing women out there doing the work. So the AI conversations today are being dominated by white men and the savior complex, the hero narrative that we only can save the world. And they're talking about existential issues. Imagine that, a group of people who are all similar, white male men or white men are talking about issues facing all of humanity while excluding half of humanity. And we are seeing there has been a tragic, I would say, inequality and inequity across the board during the pandemic. The folks who benefited the most were the billionaires. So we're seeing this massive shift in power, income, wealth, where the power is shifting from the bottom to the top and is concentrating there. So which creates this dynamic which impacts us, especially the work that we are doing, because so many of us do not have the power to compete with the narratives that's being pumped out by the billionaires and the millionaires, which do not benefit us, by the way. How are we doing on diversity? There's so much talk, right? Everybody talks about diversity. There's so many initiatives. Here's like a new headline from another tech company. But when it comes to the actual, are we moving the needle? The reports say no. So for all the talk, we really do need more action and more radical action. PR news release is not enough. Just a token diversity hire or just a token investment is not enough. We need more sustainable effort here. And throughout this, and it has been absolutely frustrating and infuriating that Black women who are doing the work are being constantly dismissed, overshadowed. They are not being given the credit that they deserve, even when it's clear that it is their work has been appropriated. So we do need to do more to support them as well. And the AI ethics issue, and this has been a big challenge, that all AI ethics issues are being framed as technical glitches. So the people who have created these issues in the first place are now saying that we are the ones who are going to solve it, and you don't have the expertise because you're not a technical person. But so many issues in AI ethics are not technical issues. There's socioeconomic issues, there are political choices, there are business choices companies are making, whether Facebook allows fake engagement to proliferate, or whether LAPD, the Los Angeles Police Department, decides they're going to use AI for surveillance or facial recognition, which is a very flawed technology. These are not technical issues. The technology is flawed, but the decision is a business decision. It's a political decision. And then when folks like Tim LeBrew and Margaret Mitchell and others speak up, they are dismissed. There are very few protections. There is retaliation, they lose big opportunities. So when folks say, why don't you just speak up? Why don't you just leave? It's not as easy when you have the power and you have the wealth. It's easy to walk away, but many of us don't have the choices, which makes it even more critical that we support these women, the work they're doing. Which brings us to the event today, which is why we are hosting it. But I want to call out that this would not be possible without the support of a community. I would like to introduce you all to the folks who make this possible. So first is a board of advisors who help guide the work that we do. Sinazeru, Amy Shu, Sinazeru, Timu, Ruz, and Alok Alur are our current advisors. And I also want to give a shout out to Temilasade Anderson. It was brilliant, wonderful, and she had to step down because she has so much going on, as all amazing women do, which she's been crucial to our work. Arisa Emma, who also had to take a step back because of a personal reason. Abita Mugen, who's the latest addition to our board, had to step back, but she is on the selection committee for the list we're going to share later today. Just wanted to give my heartfelt gratitude to all of you for taking the time to help us. The volunteers, oh my goodness, look at the amazing faces of these women. They bring their passion, their energy, they help out at this event, and many of them came back again because it must be for my jokes, right? Because yeah, I have the best jokes. So I do so appreciate all of you for coming back and giving so much of your time and talent to this effort. Maya Gota is the reason I sleep at night. If it wasn't for her, I probably would not get any sleep. So my gratitude to her for being so incredibly amazing. I also want to give a big shout out to the folks behind the scene who work and toil away. They rarely ever acknowledge a lot of freelancers that we hire. Dwight Brown, who's an amazing producer, Biplop, who worked on all our beautiful images. Biplop worked on our website. Bilal on our images. Ahmed gathered all the images for 100 list. Lindley was helped with that. Rina and Amal, they all contribute in their own special way, but it takes a village to make this all happen is just what I want you to take away from this. So how is all of this work funded? So when I started in 2018, we did not have any funding. The list was published. 2019, again, no funding. So my company, Lighthouse 3, that you'll see mentioned a lot in our work, is the main funder for this initiative. And then 2020, 2021, we had all these incredible folks who stepped up and said, we'll help, we'll support you. And we got donations, we have got sponsors. So it is a hugely community-driven effort where everybody came together. So this is something we believe in, we will help support it. So my sincere gratitude to everyone who supported it. And this is just a fraction. There are many, many other folks that I could not add on this list, otherwise we'll be here all day. But thank you so much again for supporting us. Today's sponsors are the Ford Foundation and the Media Network. We could not have pulled together this event without your generosity and support. Thank you all so much. This year is the first year that we'll actually break even. We have been running in the red for a few years now. It's thanks to them that finally we have some funding, additional funding, so we can start paying some of our speakers a small honorarium just to show our appreciation. Michelle Chavin, Michelle Shavando, and Emma Lakin, thank you so much for your support. So now I will pause. I think we're doing okay on time. I do want to get to our speakers. So today's event is introducing you to amazing women who are not just talking the talk, but walking the walk on tech equity, accountability, and protecting the workers, protecting the women, stopping harmful surveillance technologies from entering into our personal and public spaces, making sure that our the most vulnerable communities on digital platforms are protected. So without further ado, I will now start. I will introduce you to our first speaker of the day, our keynote speaker, Dr. Timnit Gebru.